now we're up to the 5th technique in Koryu Dai, which is a shiro rote mochi Jyuji Garami Nage. A shiro rote mochi, as it was before, is the grasping from behind. He's getting a hold with hands behind. The Jyuji Garami Nage is an entangling locking form. The nage is the throw. So what we're having here is a form that's fairly unique to Tomiki Aikido. It's kind of interesting. I once heard Mr. Nuriyama discussing that Mr. Tomiki was fairly famous in circles that knew that he was the one that really developed these double locking techniques. So we'll talk a little bit about how that comes about. As we begin this, we're taking a slight step forward, a little sugiyashi forward with the right foot. As that's happening, we're going to raise up our left hand and sort of open a window. So you put these two actions together and get very comfortable with it. We're moving our whole center of gravity forward so that if he's locked down and powerful, he has a hard time resisting that body rise right there. Now once we've raised up, we're going to do a hip switch and turn 90 degrees. And now from here, we're going to have to focus on 2 different wrist locking actions. And so I prefer to teach this one wrist at a time. I usually begin by saying, okay, now we're going to go for the kotogaeshi here. I'm going to step back away from his center. And as I do, I keep my thumb open, my wrist back. I go a long way, and his grip will break. And it comes into a very natural position to make kotogaeshi go. So we'll do this a couple of angles, and you can see maybe from here. So again, the forward step, the raising up, hip turn. I step back and just concentrate on getting to the kotogaeshi at the end. Now, we're not reaching in and trying to twist into this. It's a natural product of moving your center away and keeping the wrist relationship flexed back and with the thumb open that allows this kotogaeshi to fall into the palm of your hand very naturally. As you finally get to the very end, you can adjust a little if you need to, but generally speaking, you'd rather not have to adjust anything on the fly, and you just want to reach in and wind up with the nice kotogaeshi position. You do that many, many, many repetitions until the kotogaeshi gets there fairly automatically. You don't have to worry about it too much. Every time you step back, you can reach in and just get kotogaeshi at the end of that thing. So yeah, you got a nice kotogaeshi there. Now we're going to look at the second wrist lock that gets involved so that this becomes a Jyuji Garami. And the second wrist lock is a kotomawashi that's going to happen on the top hand. And so again, we're going to forget about the bottom hand for a little while, move back away, and this little winding action is going to take us into kotomawashi. Little winding action right here. The wrist again stays back, the thumb open. Kotomawashi. You do this many, many, many repetitions. Maybe this direction. Until you consistently can just pull kotomawashi off at the end of that step. Right here. Boom. Kotomawashi. Once both sides are fairly equal and you don't really have any particular issues about winding up with your hand in kotogaeshi, winding up with your hands in kotomawashi, it's not a lot of effort to do either of them, then it's time to put them together and do both. The man grips, we make our forward action, raising up, we move away, and both occur. Now, once you have kotomawashi and kotogaeshi, the kata predicts, since he's on this right foot, that we're stepping forward with the back leg, and we have the kotogaeshi go. But you could just as readily step forward with the other foot, if you'd happen to be on that foot, and throw this from the left side, off the mawashi. That doubling effect, or that fail-safe effect, is fairly unique, and apparently Mr. Tomiki was the one to apply this in dynamic randori and invented this particular form of mischief for Aikido play. There had been Daito-Ru forms where the locking at the end had done with lots of dual locks, but to do them into dynamic throwing forms apparently was something unique and interesting. So play with it a lot. It's a lot of fun. And again, break it down one at a time. Basic forward step, raising up with the left, turning and sliding away from it. And, whoa, you got to work with the grip sometime. If you don't go far enough away, he gets a hold, and you're like, oh, you get caught right here. You go a little farther away, oh, like magic. Again, same thing here. If you're not far enough away, you're going to have a hard time making the grip go. If you go a long way, you can wind up into nice control positions. So make sure that if you're having trouble breaking grip, you move your center of gravity all the way out. Because the further you go, the more you're going to encounter not the grip of his wrist and his thumb, but out to the fingertips. And when it's starting to work for you, you'll feel the strength in his hands go, and get very weak right out at the fingers. That's your gauge for knowing if you're getting into the zone where you can make the transition into the locking forms. So thank you. Good. Good. Nice.